resources and priorities. We met informally to talk about a strategy, and we went to a San Jose State University seminar on how to raise funds. And they gave suggestions on procedures, format, and they gave a huge list of funders to contact. Then we, so that's one thing we did. The other thing that we're going to focus on is making a toolkit for popular neighborhood projects. Toolkit won't be how to put on a dumpster day. The toolkit will be how to find money for a dumpster day. So who to contact and how to build that presentation. And finally, the other thing, we are going to have a spring workshop in March, tentatively, that will be hosted by this group and will be attended by this group and a select number of other people that has yet to be decided, because we're an open group, so we can't just make it for us. And this is going to be a step-by-step seminar on how to raise money. So the idea, and this is my final thing, the idea here is that everybody that comes to this workshop, you will bring your project, and when you leave the workshop, you will have everything you need to go out and ask for the money. Thank you.
Any limit on the money?
Sorry?
Any limit on the amount of money?
It depends on the organization.
Well, the other thing back here is that this will not be funding, it will be teaching you how to go after the funding. So, the sky is the limit, right? Steve.
Yes, you can run it now. Okay. I'm going to try to run through this presentation. I haven't actually took the time to time it, so if it runs a little long, I apologize. Yeah, I'll just run like this.
Who dock you pay?
Okay. Wow, what happened?
It's blank everywhere now.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
What happens when you power down? Saving resources.
Let's sneak Harvey in here while we get a chance when we figure this out.
Okay. All right. We did not have a meeting. What we had, I realized that removing barriers, or whatever it's called, I think we forgot the title of our working group. But essentially, it's change city process. And Steve and I decided that it's more than one person can take on, so we decided to become co-chairs. We have yet to have a meeting. But one of the things that we decided that we need to do is we need to identify what the goals of this group will be, to see what kinds of processes we need to change. Because there's so many barriers within the city that just keep us from doing what we need to do with neighborhoods, unless we begin to identify where the priorities of the neighborhoods are going to be in the near future. We can be looking to do that.
And an accomplishment of that goal, because what the barrier at Burbank, Del Monte is different than the barriers at Mayfair. Some places have wonderful relationships with the city office departments. Some have wonderful relationships with their council member, and so they have the ability to have some of those barriers removed. So what we'll do is, in the month of January, we'll send out a questionnaire, a very short questionnaire to all the NACs, asking you what are the top 2 or 3 barriers that you see for your organization. And then when we get that material, then we'll have the committee analyze it and see what the top prospects are for us to go after in removing the barriers. There may be some things that are citywide. There may be some things that are just part of the citywide. But what would help us to do is to find out what's really causing you not to get action or information to your neighbors and yourself. Okay? So after the first of the year, between Harvey and myself, we'll have a short questionnaire, and then we'll take that material, schedule a meeting. Whoever wants to be part of that analysis, please let us know. We'll make sure you're invited to the meeting, and then we'll go over that data and start to set out some actual goals or actual areas to go after. Okay?
The good news is that, in my Rolodex or my iPod, the direct lines or cell phones of just about every department head in the city.
Then I know what we'll do is we're going to abscond Harvey's BlackBerry and make it available to all.
Yeah. But the reality is that we can set up meetings with these people to help us. So that we really need to know where we want to go. We can't use
Can I make a suggestion here? I get confused real easily. What Steve has done here is interesting, and I think what was just proposed, a questionnaire to go out, what I would suggest that each of the groups at this point put together something like this and distribute it immediately, broadly, so that the broad community can respond and say, well, I like this, or maybe here's something else, respond back to the particular chair, and your questionnaire is part of that, and maybe that's a start, but the sooner the better. Each group really needs to put out something specific to everybody so that everybody can look at it, comment on it, feedback, and not wait for 3 months.
Good job.
Good.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
A real quick comment. I know one of the things that has been kicked around is being able to use city tools to accomplish whatever, whether it be cleanup, whatever you're going to do in your neighborhood. Talking to someone from services, brought that up to them. And this was a manager, and his comment was because of the cutback, that they not only not they've been selling off a lot of their tools. So I don't know how true that is, because that kind of floored me. It's like, really? So when everything picks up, we're going to have to buy everything all over again? That made no sense.
how much is it over?
Yeah, so anyway, we're going to run into a lot of roadblocks just because people are going to be reticent to jump on board. Change comes slowly. So at some point in time, we're going to have someone we can go to. Somebody tells us we have no tools. Well, we have to go to somebody we can go to say, is that true?
Again, I think that's an example of a kind of barrier that I certainly didn't have any knowledge of, and again, that we need to have shared, and that's part of what we're seeking in this questionnaire. It's not a closed-end survey. Do you like a budget or do you not like a budget? It's going to be you're going to have to, and again, it's not going to be limited just to we'll send it out to the NACs, but we are asking you to share it with your
Community-based organizations and other entities. So group member assignments specific to that training and tools to help us kind of get that through. And then coordination within the NAC area so that they can take the lead and take point to kind of drive that activity. Next slide, please. These are the action items short term. The working group will clarify the problem property criteria, and I get into that in another slide, in the next slide. Take point to identify those problems in neighborhoods and crisis specific, and then help us. And then lastly, the name and area. Next slide, please. Long-term goals, these are more beyond the 6-month time frame, and it goes back to a little bit on the recruiting side. Build membership doing well. We have to be informed of that. We have to continually be worked with because we're problem children, but at least we're here, we're willing to take it on. Next. All right, go back, please. Our next meeting is January 4th. That's a Tuesday. For now, it's located back at the McKinley Center, only because our participation was so low at the last one. I'm not interested in shifting the locations as yet, but I'm really interested in doing that on an ongoing basis as we can get buy-in from the different groups that host it. The time will be 6:30. It'll run about an hour and a half, 90 minutes. And next. Last is, any questions, please contact me. I'm the chair. Steve Navarro. My cell number is up there. It's on those handouts that I provided, as well as my email address. Email me, harass me, call me anytime that you like. If you got a question or comments or whatnot, I'm willing to take it. I think that's it.
Great.
Not too bad, right?
Yeah. Comment?
Oh, yeah, please.
Steve, my understanding is there has been some identification of a limited number of neighborhoods in crisis, right? Some specific neighborhoods have been identified,
Right.
and things are in the process of working.
Right.
Now, what you've talked about here are generalities of how to approach problems, but it seems to me to get specific, you're going to have to grab a neighborhood that is specifically that way and work in that neighborhood, or I don't know, how many are there that have been identified?
13.
13. That's absolutely, mind-boggling.
Right.
And it seems to me the way for you to be able to fill out what you've got here is at least grab one neighborhood, find somebody who's willing, and work at that as a specific model.
Okay.
Just a comment.
That'll be number one. We could do my community. We're in a crisis, and we definitely need help.
We've had the discussions on how to do pilot areas, and to be honest, part of the reason why I've written this up in more generalities is mainly because I haven't had a chance to really connect with my committee.
Understand, it's a big job.
The specific thing on working with problem properties is because we were on a specific deadline for 6 months. And I see that as, despite the fact that it might be problem properties, it may seem to people that that may not address other issues. If you get rid of, or you work to enforce a law for particular properties, and you get a house that's, has people that are either dealing drugs or growing weed or whatever else out of that neighborhood, less likelihood is there going to be more crime. I mean, that crime in that particular area. There's going to be less likelihood of a number of other factors. It impacts those particular neighborhoods in specific ways. It's not the only thing we're going to do. It's not, at least I don't anticipate it's the only action that we're going to take, but it's at least one specific thing that we have outlined so far. We've had other things come up where one of the things was walkthroughs in the neighborhood to do, inspections of the lights. That's being taken on by a number of the NACs. We talked about having greater coordination within this particular working group and CNAC as a whole. And I brought it up to specific NACs about being able to invite them into other areas so that we kind of cross-connect and get to see how it's done, what do you do, how can we take that to other areas. I haven't seen as much of that happen. It's mainly been in the suggestion phase, but hopefully we can be a little better at it. But we also have to kind of pick our battles as we go. So I'm sorry. Well, actually, you first, please.
Yeah, just a comment. I like what you've done, and you say 6 months. In our NAC, West Evergreen, we have a neighborhood in crisis.
Okay.
We have a house with a 12-year history,
Okay.
and all we've gotten is this.
Okay.
See, so if you're looking for a house for a test case,
We're looking for multiple. We don't want just the one. We're talking about any neighborhood in crisis. Actually, honestly, any neighborhood. My focus, although it is for this particular group, honestly, if the city attorney is willing to take on any other any of the other NACs, I'll put it in front of them if we don't have enough for for the neighborhoods in crisis themselves. But particularly, if you're willing, what we need then is to meet with you. I'll meet with you personally, or I'll get folks from my committee to reach out to you and get the documentation back to the city attorney's office and put it in front of them. Because otherwise, right now, all they see is what comes off of police reports, comes off of enforcement actions that are taken already. And we need to have other, need additional visibility. There's going to be action that the neighborhoods can take that the police might, not necessarily that they can't take, but that they may not have the bandwidth to take, the manpower to take, or it may not be, they may be trying to deal with a murder over here as opposed to a particular property. You see, unless there was a murder at that particular
A
property.
couple questions here.
Sure. Actually,
And then we're going to have to, I think, 2 more questions.
Yeah.
And
So, let's take hers and then yours, and then that's it.
Just want to make a point of information.
Can you stand up, please?
Just want to make a point of information.
Yeah.
The comment that the elder made, what was your name, sir?
Mac?
Matt. The comment that Matt made was, I agree with him.
Yeah.
I think it's important to do a pilot program.
Okay.
Second thing is that, with that, it sounds like you've got 2 things going on. You've got we have the 6-month standby, right?
Right.
So I think that would be like a completely separate kind of project. But doing a pilot program and following it year round, then you can have your kind of like master plan manual of how to model and
Right.
figure out all the glitches. So I really like his recommendation.
I think it's beneficial, but I think we may have to look at more than just the one problem property. You're talking about
Oh, no,
focusing on a
you-
particular
yeah,
neighborhood
you
and
can do
then
that,
addressing
right?
a series of different issues.
Yeah, I think
So.
you can do that, but I, well,
Yeah.
yeah,
See
I
what I
like
mean?
the idea of the pilot program.
Okay, and then
I'm Steve Barrington, Vice President Washington now. It might be sidetracked, because I always get sidetracked here, but neighborhoods in crisis that are going to be tending to always be in crisis are going to be 2 major issues here about middle schools. This goes back 40 years. We're talking about Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson. Those neighborhoods in surrounding, I'm saying 5 Boone, everything up to Santa Clara Street, all these neighborhoods that are not, the crisis is really crying because they have no middle schools. Their high school dropout rate is outrageous. Their kids are still getting bused to middle schools way outside their districts, and that is the crisis resolution. There's no middle schools in these 2 areas.
Unfortunately.
And that's the same issue. I know, but you're never going to get rid of the crisis until you get those schools there. Because the kids out of grammar school, they don't go to middle school together, and that's why you have all this warfare with kids at their 6th grade level. But that's the answer to that. So it's going to always be there until that's resolved.
just a quick comment, and Elsie, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, just a brief comment. I see exactly what you're talking about. One of the things that our particular NAC, prides ourselves on, but one of the things that's a priority for us is to be able to partner with the school district in what we do, whether it's trying to, work at either preventing truancy or preventing crime or the other issues. It might be something that we can address at least on some level with this particular group. I'm open to suggestions as to what that is. I don't know if you want to address that particularly or something, then we have to cut it.
Okay.
So, any other comments I'd prefer to deal with in a working group, but we will definitely bring it back to CNAC as a whole and update as accordingly. If you don't hear what you'd like to hear tonight or we didn't address what you wanted, come find me and we can talk it out. All right? Thank you.
You're findable, your email's there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Where is he taking his coat off?
I'd like to request a 1-minute break so I can change the memory card.
Oh, no, I can get stuff that's not on video. That's great.